All right, all right. What's going on, my brother? There he is in the fold, in the place to be. Peace to the gods, my brother. How are you, Brother Shem?
I'm doing well.
I'm doing extremely
I'm doing well, family. How you doing?
I'm enjoying this heat wave here in hot Atlanta. That's what they call it.
That's what they call
Yes,
it.
sir. Yeah, man. We'll get started here in just a couple of moments. I don't know. Am I coming through clear? Sounds a little muffled. Okay.
Yeah, you perfect. You clear.
Well, excellent, man. Yeah, I'm excited about today's topic. Yeah.
Me too. Me too.
Oh yeah.
I think we'll be in for a treat.
Real, engulfed and inundated with technology and a lot of the trappings of technology, and they come in contact as energy traps. So we really have to be mindful of what we're doing with technology so that we're able to balance our energy out. So I'm looking forward to it.
Right. Absolutely.
Sir.
Yeah, you're right about that. You know, we definitely have to find that balance. Definitely.
So one moment here, I'm gonna just pop off just for a quick second, and then we're gonna come right back in about 60 seconds and get started. This should definitely be a treat for a lot of people. So I'm gonna go ahead and hold on 1 second.
Can you, brother?
All right, I'm back in mode.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, Brother Shem, EL, and we're so excited about this topic: technology, spirituality, and the evolution of the human species. This brother is so sharp. We've known each other for a few years, but he has written 3 books, and one of the books is How Many Days Are in a Circle. Another book he wrote is Who is Elohim, and another book is What is the Higher Self. Now, I love to delve into that, but those of you that are listening to this, we'll say this again. Make sure you check him out. He's active on YouTube, and it's some tremendous knowledge that this brother has. We both are teaching ways that we can evolve beyond some of the mental paradigms that keep us binded in the linear world. I say. So brother Ken 6, Brother Shem, in talking about technology, balancing with spirituality and evolving, we'll be one of the things you would initiate this conversation, you know, to get things going about what kind of pitfalls and things are in place that could act as barriers to our spirituality.
Absolutely. And once again, thank you for having me here on this live. It's an honor to be invited. I want to just say to everyone, one of the things that I've come across in my studies, and of course I study more science, is we have a writing that's called Savior of Humanity. And in it says, in the electrified age, men are racing into this life without knowledge of where they're going and where the end will be, what the end will be. So when we see this technology is constantly advancing. However, our personal advancement, our spiritual advancement is not matching up. You know, it's like I heard a comedian say, we have a bunch of smart phones and dumb people. But, you know, it's in the concept of basically that we're not elevating, we're not advancing and catching up with the technology. And I would definitely say that our most advanced technology is ourselves. If you really truly look into that, and I know you can attest to that, being a teacher of the Hollow Mind Perceiver. So we really have to be able to, as you mentioned about the higher self, study ourselves, our higher self, lower self, and know that from what is illusion to that which is reality.
Absolutely.
So that's why we
absolutely. And really to speak on it, you know, in thinking about technology, a lot of us here, am I coming through clear? It seems like it's a little muffled.
Yeah.
Can everybody who's listening hear me okay? Sounds like it's a little bit of feedback. Any feedback, anybody?
I think okay. See somebody comment 100. So I think you coming in pretty clear.
All right, so really, when we're talking about technology, we talk about this in a long time. So those of you who are joining Olmec cosmology, who were ancestors of the galactic Maya, and in this process, we learned a lot about. There's a delay in my voice.
Yeah, there's a delay. They're saying there's a delay in your voice. Yeah, I'm not hearing it, but they can catch
feedback when I talk. Yeah, I hear it. I hear feedback as well. Let's see if we can fix that. Let me go from the back, y'all, to the front, y'all, to see what happens. I got all the bars here, so let's
see. Technology for you.
Yeah, we talk about technology. I'm dealing with it.
Exactly.
All right. Is there still feedback?
Always.
It sounds like an alien transmission.
Not a delay.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was hearing. So let me. Yeah.
It said maybe the headset.
So I'm gonna pop off. It may drop everybody. Right. I'm okay with it. I'm an alien. So everybody, I may have to drop off and come back on. So just hang tight and see if we can get a better connection. So I'm here. Still. Do this for me, brother Shane. Mute your mic before I do this and see if that makes a difference. And we might have to mute our mics. Okay. How's that now? Can everybody hear? Is it clear? Is it more clear now, or does it still sound like the alien transmission? Uh-oh, I'm not getting any feedback here. What we'll do is we will mute when each other is speaking, Brother Shem, and then we'll kind of go from there. But what we hear, for those of you listening, joining in and chiming in, we're talking about, the title of this is Technology, Spirituality, and the Evolution of the Human Species. And so what we want to do is we want to talk about to you today, and we got Brother Shem on, that really has an extensive background and that studied more sciences. He's head of a temple in North Carolina, and I won't say the head, but he's part of the leadership that spearheads everything. And so we're fortunate to have him on. I mean, and he also studies some of the concepts of the law of time and what I teach, the hollow mind perceiver. And so what we want to understand is there's all these agents that are either advocating for our evolution, is either working towards it, or it's working against it. And so now we have to see, when we're talking about technology, what kind of technologies we're talking about. And when we're talking about spirituality, what is that spirituality based on, so that it is in support of the evolution of ourselves and the human species. We're moving from the information age into the telepathic age of existence. So what does that mean? That means that we're going to have to go deeper into the human technologies that we may or may not know about, so that we can access that other 9/10 that we hadn't found the purpose to use, because for the most part, we've been working in the artificial world. Now, many of you who are listening, we all use technology. We're using technology right now. And one of the things that drew me to this particular cosmology was its reference to the irregularities of the Gregorian calendar and the technosphere, that the technology has gotten so out of control that it is now suffocating the earth, and the earth to process more trash than it ever has, and the natural resources of the earth are dwindling as a result. And so this technosphere, we don't have to look any further than the palm of our hand, or our homes for the most part, that surrounds us in technology. There's TVs, there's iPads, there's smartphones. Who would have ever thought that we'll pay $1,250 for a smartphone? And I like how you said that, brother Shem. You said it's a lot of people with smartphones, or smartphones with dumb people. You said something like that. I don't know if I quoted you right, but it's making us dumber and dumber, because we're not using our critical thinking skills. Okay, so we got to be careful, because although it offers convenience, it offers an entertainment element, it puts our brain to sleep in terms of being able to increase the neurological activity to become more intelligent. So what happens is the smartphone and the analytics are monitoring our decision-making process to make artificial intelligence or technology smarter. That's what happens. So when we're looking at this, we're saying, oh my God, we don't really realize that. We're like, oh, I need to get me a new smartphone. I need to get the 13 iPhone. I need to get the 14. But we're not really understanding and getting that how we need to balance our spirituality, that we need to may take a technology detox at times, so that we can make sure that we're creating enough balance, and that we're not just high tech, but we're high touch by being in nature. Any comments on that, Brother Shem, that you like? I'm gonna mute my end to keep the feedback.
Absolutely, brother. You put it right there on the spot. Instead of being high tech, being high touch, and really being in touch with ourselves. And when I think about the term technology, when we look at the root of the word technology, the root of it, techno, means skilled, right? It means art. It means a method of something doing something. In our spirituality, we have terms like, especially in more science, we talk about an adept chamber. And an adept comes from the Latin word adeptus, which means skilled. So in each realm, you dealing with a skill. That skill has to be developed. And you can use it for positive or you can use it negative. But to your point is that we have been conditioned to look at the technology as being something outside of us that we depend upon, as opposed to tapping into ourselves, where that spiritual technology resides in, and develop that skill set. And I think that's like you said, getting back into nature. We don't use enough of our true potential. And the technology that's outside of us makes us think that we don't need to do that. You catch what I'm saying? In other words, you and I remember back in the day where we didn't have GPS, right? You had to go by landmarks. Sometimes if you drove a long way, you had that long map. You would stop at the road and get that map. You know what I'm talking about for those of us who that age, right? But now we can look at it as a phone, it's same thing, so we truly miss out on our true potential to really But that's truly what I would say to that. That's all.
Brother, that's perfect response, because again, we got to monitor this. And you know what? It has the technosphere. Let's just look in our homes, is out of control. And for those of us that are tapping in, like when we teach and talk about the hollow mind perceiver, what the hollow mind perceiver is that energetically, everything is a version of something else. So we're just systems inside of larger systems, just like our blood cells are part of the circulatory system of the body is part of the biosphere of the earth. The earth is part of the solar system. But these are different fields of consciousness energetically that are all different mirror images of one another when we talk about energy. And so what we can find out there, we can find plasma out there. There's plasma in here. There's plasma in the corpus callosum. There's plasma in the cerebral spinal fluid. There's plasma in the blood. So when we start wondering, how is the brain, communicate with everything, and how does the blood work and able to replenish itself? All of this is connected energetically. And so when we talk about energy or technology, it could really disturb our system, our biometrics, or our energy system that is a part of the body. There's the energy, the electronic light body that we have. That's what we would call the fifth dimensional self. Then we have the etheric body. That's the spirit. Okay, that would be the fourth dimensional self. It gives the fifth dimension elasticity to go into different dimensions. It's called the medium, spiritual medium. And then we have the physical body temple that's governed by the chakras, and there's even the seven chakras, or the seven energy levels are linked to the seven radioplasmas in the brain, in the corpus callosum. And so when these are connected, we are activating our own technology as the whole mind perceiving this reality from a whole being. And so when we get into now breaking this down, talking about the technology, we can associate a number for those who are numerologists with 10. 10 represents binary code. It also represents the decimal math. And so when we think about energy that moves, it's powered by number. It's sacred geometry and number patterns. And so from perspective, now we're able to say, okay, well, if we're talking about binary code and linear consciousness, then we're going to be limited to the whole. We're going to be focusing in on, and there are that we need to focus in on certain segments, but not all the time. So now, once we start focusing this way, you can tell that this decimal system has created a frequency called the 1260 frequency. This is why we get out of the Gregorian calendar and what we call artificial time, because it's creating artificial frequency, and it's not allowing us to get to the cerebellum where our cosmic memory circuits are. So the 12 frequency is really what's empowering technology. If you don't believe me, you can look at how technology, look at the last 3 decades, and you can see that technology or artificial intelligence has evolved at an alarming rate, much more than the human consciousness. And so, because we're being used to fuel that process until we awaken and say, wait a minute, we're told that we have more power in our brain or in our cerebellum, over 100 million years of knowledge stored. Okay. And it's more powerful than any mainframe computer. So answer me this, listeners. Then why is artificial intelligence, which was created from nature, the nature of our own consciousness, why is it evolving faster than our own human consciousness? And we're stuck at 1/10. And so this is why we're having this conversation, because until we be made aware of this, many of us will be operating in a feedback loop of artificiality. So I'm going to pass it to you, Brother Shem, because we're seeing this and it's really literally driving us crazy. It's taking us in a downward spiral that that takes control of our emotions to the point that we feel completely out of control. What you got to say about that, Brother Shem?
I would say you right on point with that. That's a really good point in reference to the downward spiral that we're going into. You mentioned, just want to backtrack, you talked about the numbers and the numerology and how we got kind of off. And you talked about the 7 gates, those heptad gates, right? That we have, also aligning with the days of the week, the plasmas, the 7 radial plasmas, also the chakras. In spirituality, most of us already know that in most spiritual systems, one of the numbers we operate is the 7, right? In more science, we have something called the circle 7. We teach that 7 is the number of perfected man, right? So, and when I grew up in New York, I was around the 5%ers, and they would say 7, that's the number of God, right? What's today's mathematics? God, right? Number 7 is God. So all this time, even in your Bible and everything, you'll see the number 7 in different texts, the Hindu texts, the Arabic texts. All of these is definitely understood, the numbers that we vibrated off on, and how at some certain point we got off of it. We was taken off of it to this kind of, like you said, the linear aspect of thinking and the linear aspect of processing mentally. And so what I think is very important is that we learn the cycles, the natural cycles. You get to talk about the law of time, the natural cycles. I wrote in my book, How Many Days Are in a Circle, which is based on a Moorish questionnaire. How many days are in a circle? 7 days. And you have something called chronobiology. And chronobiology deals with the cycles of your body. And they have something called a circumception rhythm, right? So that deals with a 7, the circle of 7 days, or the heptad, right? That heptad repeat. You have something called a heptad repeat in the amino acids, where these amino acids in your body, they repeat on a pattern of 7. Right? We have water. Water is over 70% water in our body. We're a microcosm of the macrocosm of the earth, which is over 70% water. So everything you see is back in tune with nature. It's just us getting back in tune with nature. And I'll just say this and then I'll leave it off, that when we get into the aspect of Gregorian calendar, we'll always say that. My question is, who is Gregory? You see what I'm saying? Gregorian calendar. If you research the Gregorian calendar, you'll find that it goes back to Pope Gregory the 13th, a Roman Catholic. So when you see that, you see why all of these days, your St. Valentine's Day, your St. Patrick's, everything is keeping you in a certain mind frame. And when we get back into the ancient way of the time cycles, as we say in more science, we measure time by cycle ages. And I'm so happy that what you're doing with the law of time, getting back into the Olmec cycles and the Syrian cycles that were spoken about by the Dogon, it gets us back in tune with everything. And that 13 moon calendar, the 13 moon calendar has always been part of the indigenous people. Matter of fact, in my studies, that's what drew me to the 13 moon calendar, is because when I studied on the indigenous people here in America, I realized they had what's called the turtle clan, and the shell of the turtle has 13 large scales and 28 small scales around it. So it's literally the time record of the 1328. So, it's all in nature, and we just got to get back to it. So I'll just say that and then yield back to you, bro.
I almost didn't want to take it back. You were sounding so good over there, Chef. That melodious voice, but you really hitting on something, and you hear us talk about 13, and we've been told it's a number of taboo, and anything that somebody tells us, we want to say, well, what is that based on? Because we're supposed to lean not on our own understanding, not ask certain questions. But 13 is a very significant number, especially for the female avatar, because every 28 days, when there's a regular cycle in the female, it's linked to the moon cycles. There's 13 28-day cycles that it takes the moon to revolve around the earth in a year period. So every lunation cycle is a mean average of 28 days. Sounds like a minstrel. So everything that I'm saying and that we're saying is not just so cosmic. It's something in the body. If we can't find the body, then we can't really validate it. Because really the body is the cosmology, that we're on a path of self-mastery. And it goes beyond materialism. It goes beyond these different things. And so not only that, when we talk about technology, we want to talk about, okay, now there's always a equilibration going on, because where we can find vast abilities of artificial intelligence to evolve, let me tell you where the equilibration is, Brother Shem, and absolute intelligence. And so now we can delve into what is the human technology that's so far and beyond, because just think about it. The creator of the technology had to be more sophisticated to create the technology that was created. But we get tricked and we start thinking, wait a minute, because we get lazy, right? We start relying on something that's easier, appears to be easier, right? And for some situations that's okay, but if we stop the neurological act of our brain and our mind, then we start dumbing ourselves down, right? And then we start being dysfunctional when it comes to basic things that we operate in terms of human behavior. And so now when we're talking about technology, 1260 frequency, this is like a crossroads. This is like a juncture in the road, right? This is the point where you can say, well, I want to master the artificial world, and I want to take all of my spiritual power and energy and put into that. And that would be fine if you decided to do that. A lot of people have done that, and they're going to master this artificial 1/10 of the whole equation, right? And then there's those that say, but wait a minute, if I master the 1/10 and there's